Thanks.
You're welcome.
Boy, that is a shining light.
Yeah, yeah.
With that said,
Let's go back out. Let's go back out there in the sun. Talk about nuclear.
Let's start the meeting.
okay, so I just did roll on my own. I think the only person that we have missing on committee is Tina, unless I've missed it. I can't see everything. I wrote Robbie too. And then, so this meeting, we're just having goals, as I understand, Isaac. We're not going to do county updates, county port updates. Okay. So I need a motion to approve the agenda for January 20th.
I so move.
I got a first and a second. And then approval of meeting minutes for December 16th, 2021.
So moved.
Thank you, Lynn.
Second.
Thank you, Brian. Oh, we have to vote. Sorry. Vote.
Aye.
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 And then do we want to vote again on the agenda? We had a first and a second.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And then are we going to do citizen communication?
Sure.
Okay. Is there any citizen communication? Okay. And then last meeting, we went over the team agreement. Everybody got a copy of that. We did not set it in. We didn't vote on it. We didn't vote on it. Everybody recall the team agreement? Thank you, Brian. Anybody else gonna second it? Thanks, George. Thank you. Can we vote on it?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, goal setting.
Okay.
Do we want to write them on the board? How do we want to do it? Oh, good. It's on page 4 in your packet.
Yes, Kate. Yeah, Governor. Got multiple bogeys. Violating your orders. Swarm, swarm.
Is that you, Kate?
Oh,
What do you want to
joking.
talk about?
I'm joking. Well, today's the day where you could put input for, you know, the permanent mask mandate.
Okay, so the ones that we had proposed last week, or last month rather, the 50-year plan, the Main Street Urban Renewal, Chamber of Commerce, city promo video, which is one that Mr. Mayor would like us to work on. Being a business attractor, we had subcommittees that we talked about last time, or over the last this inception. There were a couple of different groups. One worked on beautifying the railroad tracks, and another group, which I was on, was about attracting this area. And is that something that we want to again focus on? And South Trail and work with CSET. Is there anything that we've all thought about over the last 30 days to include in our list? I don't remember what Isaac wrote this down, so I don't remember who proposed this. Was this just kind of spitballing on what potential options were? So I don't know who proposed
Urban renewal. I was trying to plugged in. You have Christmas lights or other celebratory lights. Powerful. I don't know if that got lumped in.
Is that part of our focus for Economic Development Committee, is getting plugs?
Well, it's part of the whole event thing.
I think it would be the part of the Main Street.
Yeah, part of the Main Street.
Main Street.
Plugs on Main Street.
Main Street, there was a specific program.
Well, yeah, I mean, but a beautification or something that would be a business attractor.
We had talked about beautification of the buildings on Highway 30 too, which
Some were pro, some were against. I'm still
That's kind of where the urban renewal discussion came about.
Yeah.
I mean, your businesses look nice, but let's jazz up the rest.
I don't have a problem jazzing up the rest. Not that we should, that the process should be.
Yeah, right. And they should also include their participation. So we're not a charity. We can put up X number of percentage of it and they put up the rest of it, great. But if they think that we're going to be 100% charitable process, we can't reinvent the wheel. It's just it looks like it looks because they don't take care of it right now. So are we their parents? No. I mean, that's a tough question. It's a tough question, but
It's a tough thing. I mean, I think it could be done. It have to be very carefully done. Because otherwise, we're actually disincentivizing people to maintain their properties. We figure if we wait long enough, the city will take care of it.
right.
It'd have to be a one-time percentage thing.
Yeah, right.
It would have to be very limited because like we talked about last time, you can't just slap awnings on those buildings.
So
Because you'd have to tear the building apart.
That's right. And once you go inside those buildings, you're done.
He's right.
Lori, the Frakes building on the National Historic Register is just defined as historic. There's no little plaques on it.
Maybe it
Yeah.
fell off. Maybe it.
No, I remember it being historic, but I don't remember it ever going to the National Historic, which is a whole different issue. Fortunately, it's not there, so we can do something with it.
So this discussion is exactly why I put urban renewal on there, is because there were some other discussions like this specifically about the urban renewal agency's conception of a grant program to do some frontage improvements and other things. And so when I put that on there, I had made a comment that perhaps this is the kind of discussion that the committee wants to have. And so having a goal of advising on urban renewal might be something that the committee could adopt and be able to have these discussions and make recommendations to council. So, and as a reminder, what's happening today is we're just kind of drafting these. These will be sent to council for their retreat. They'll take a look at them, mull them over, put them into the goals and send them back out to staff. Last time.
So I know what Brian, or we all know what Brian and Lynn think about it, but Brenda, Michael, what do you guys think about it? Okay, so.
Sorry, we can't hear what Brenda.
Please remember to
said.
speak into the mics.
I'm pro fixing up the Main Street and urban renewal. I think it really impacts our city as people are driving through and seeing not the most flattering view of Scappoose. Got it.
We as a city, should we subsidize?
Or somehow, yeah, sorry, I just am not. I don't know exactly how, but I think somehow incentivize them to do it. Not necessarily, I don't think we should pay for it because I agree that, it'll end up being a handout and everybody will expect it. But I do think we should find some way to encourage them to do that.
Definitely agree. I've thought about what before was even brought up here. Definitely understand Brian's concern with it. I mean, we're not a charity, but something does need to be done. Brian brought up something, and they don't take care of it, or the reason the way it looks is because they don't take care of it. Well, maybe they don't take care of it because of the way it looks. I mean, it's a chicken and an egg. I mean, there's something needs to be done, but I don't really know what the solution is. I definitely do think that it does need to be beautiful. We're driving right through town, it's right there on the highway, left side, driving north.
Should just go ahead and leave this on the agenda to talk about this as a goal. Idea of figuring out exactly how we're going to do it. So as part of our process during the year.
When we talked about reviewing the code also.
Yeah, and there's some code reviewing things we could do for like cleaning and like that. But and I think the first step is to talk to the owners. I know that one of the owners of one of the larger buildings is out of state. So that also creates a problem. Just become a number on a balance sheet. You're not going to have the same incentivization to make things look nice. You have one building in Scappoose, that's it.
And
You're out of
that's
state.
it.
You're out of state. All you worry about is getting a rent check.
Yeah.
But maybe it seems like there's enough desire to talk about this, and then we can worry about how to go about it later. But it seems like it's
So can I interrupt real quick, just for clarification? Isaac, am I understanding that these are recommendations to put in our goals, and whatever we decide to tackle on as these goals, they go to council and then they approve them so that we can go after these, then they'll be implemented into our goals? Is that what I'm understanding?
Essentially, so this list of goal recommendations goes to council, and then council goes into their retreat, and they take these recommendations from the Parks Committee, recommendations from staff. They look at what happened in the last year, and they craft their next set of goals for the city out of this. Sometimes these
city.
goals will be, when council does them, they'll be directed to staff. Sometimes they're long-term, things we'll be doing for many years.
Two.
As an aside too, and maybe not for today, but the Parks Committee has decided to make their own goal recommendations internally to direct them through the year about how they want to work.
What?
Some of those things,
Uh-oh,
yeah.
Not their job.
uh-oh.
They
Okay,
do
I just-
independently.
I think,
Anyways,
I think it's important to kind of take it to the next step. So your council says that these are your goals. Mayor slams down the gavel and these are the goals. And then the staff puts together action plans, and those action plans kind of lay out how are you going to do it elements of the goal. I mean, otherwise it's just a goal. If we come back to it, if we do it, we did, it's a plan, it becomes a plan. And that becomes Isaac's charge is to put together that plan and bring it back to us and say, you know, maybe we have a work session. How's this feel? Is this we want to do or not want to do within that context? But that's an important piece. So, you know, the house and details that comes after the goals are established. So.
Well, is there funding by the city, the state, county that could be beneficial in assisting in terms of monetary?
And that's part of an action plan is to identify how you're going to fund it. But the good news is that this Economic Development Committee leadership of the city council adopted a urban renewal plan, which is a very good one. It's very young. And in the early years, it doesn't generate a lot of revenues. But over time, it's going to be a very significant tool that this committee is going to be able to weigh in on and use to do economic development projects. And there, you know, in order to have an urban renewal plan, you have to, or an urban renewal district, you have to have a plan, which we created. And part of that plan was for improvements to the frontages of the building. So that's in the plan already. And so really the question is, what is that going to look like? And is it going to be a grant, or is it going to be a loan or a match? And those are the details that I think Isaac's going to probably work on and bring back to us in the future, right?
That one's my favorite.
Does that make sense, what I said?
We really can only have 3 goals. I mean, we're not huge. I think we have more than that, then we're not going to really do anything well. So I think of these 8, unless there's something more that someone wants to bring up, like what are our top 2, maybe 3? The city I know wants us to be a part of the 50-year plan. There's going to be stuff to do with that. Mayor wants us to do the city promo video. We want to
That was
focus
the
on
council. Council referred that to.
and then there's the urban renewal. So those to me are the top 3 that we need to focus on. If somebody else has another opinion.
Is there anybody with talent that could maybe
That has
draw something up that would be beneficial just for the frontage of the buildings? Because that would be the greatest start, and I wouldn't think that would be too costly.
Hey, Mike, why didn't 5 and 6 combined as one goal?
As the committee, this committee reviewed the urban renewal plan in the district. A lot of the stuff's probably spelled out in there and is there money available? Has the district created enough money to do something with? Because I don't know, want to make it a goal, then I have to have a good idea how much money's available and then identify which projects it might be able to fund. Because that should be pretty well spelled out in the plan already. So I don't think it's a recreation of the plan. It's more of a how to utilize,
Yeah, it's an execution.
Is there
execution of,
something,
a partial execution, because it's probably a big, broad plan that, you're never going to accomplish all of it, but right now is their ability to accomplish any of it. And that probably should be verified before you make it a goal to do something with, because if it's new, I don't know, has it developed, is there much money in that it's been deferred over to whatever the account is from the district?
This isn't just about money, though. This is, I think the first step is to contact the building owners. We may be able to apply a little polite push. That might make be the first step. See what we could shake loose from that.
Well, if we want to have this as part of our,
Right. What I'm saying is it's not, but it's
I
not
think-
always, it's not just about money, though.
yeah, I think there's steps that we'll need to do for execution. But what do we as a committee want to focus on for our goal?
So there's two things that the council has been working with the consultant with as part of the urban renewal agency. And that's and I think contacting the owners is part of it, but urban renewal would be the bringing up to date some of the buildings. The second part was kind of incentivizing certain things. Like my vision is that since Brian has refused to buy this property, I don't want to see just apartments across the street from the city.
Actually, I made an offer on it and it was turned down.
Oh, okay. And using some of our urban renewal incentives, we might be able to get them to agree to build commercial on the front and the apartments on the back or top, which would be aesthetically more pleasing as people enter the downtown, this is part of the downtown. Those are kind of the two areas that we've been kind of focused on, correct, Alex?
One urban renewal factor that we've never talked about. And if you look at the Portland South Auditorium process, it was all done through condemnation. It's a terrible word and it's a scary word, but you look at properties we're talking about on highway, and I'm still thinking we're putting lipstick on that pig. I just don't think that we're going to get anything out of it. I mean, in today's world, you'd build the buildings, you'd set them back, you'd have your parking in front, you'd make a better use. Those buildings are 50, 60, 70 years old. If somebody has to go inside and do anything with wiring or plumbing, the code ramifications are going to be horrendous. Okay, we're not talking about $50 and $100. We're talking about $50,000 and $100,000 for that half of that block.
Look at the
section.
Klondike.
Hmm?
That's what happened with the Klondike.
It happens everywhere. Then that's the regulation process. Once the building is closed down and the usage stops, and you go back in for reuses.
But how do you stop that? Because what you said was key. Usage has to stop. You code.
Or you condemn and buy the buildings out. And
As we as a committee, do we have that power?
the city does. The urban renewal program has the power to condemn. Absolutely. So you take those buildings out, take them down, start fresh, have something that's, I realize that that's a big change for what we think about in Scappoose, but that's the pragmatic way to look at the thing. Otherwise, we're just going to have old buildings that we just keep rectifying, trying to improve. And that.
What does Michael think?
Thinking that Main Street.
Mike, microphone. People online, they need to be able to hear you.
Well, I think that, Alex should speak to this because she kind of walked that whole urban renewal plan through the process. And one of the things that was real critical was to take a look at that whole area. And, you got the cart a little bit ahead of the horse here, I think, about how do you do it, I think, to some degree. And, but I know that there was 25,000 put in for, kind of helping to do, small business development for a year. And that was in the early stages, because the early stages, there's not a lot of money, and that seemed like something that could be done that would give immediate benefits to the city. So I think that's in there, and you guys can put together a plan that kind of lays all that out. Sounds like you're working on part of it, so. You know, just last thing I'm gonna say is, over in Forest Grove, they created a renewal district as well, maybe 3 or 4 years before, 5 years before Scaboo's did. They just finished a program where, they had a match program for frontage improvements, with a lot of the smaller businesses that I think were owned by other folks, but they were low rents, and, it really turned out well, and it really kind of dressed up the whole town, and they've been working to try and create a economic development center there, and it really is working. And that was a good model that, you know, maybe you don't pay for it. Maybe there's, it's, you know, in a way like an enterprise zone, you know, you put some, you know, you try to incentivize some improvements, and, so maybe it's not just write a check. Maybe you have a matching program or something, but those are the details you get through. I mean, if that ends up being a goal, those are the details that Alex and Basic and,
Mike, do you know who was in charge of that over there? To maybe get some idea of, maybe bring them here and have them look if they do a great job?
I know who he is, but he's in Boston now, retired, but, I have his phone number. He'd probably call in and
Okay.
be willing to share what they've done there. They really did a pretty incredible job. You know, the other thing they did is they built that 4-story apartment right downtown with retail on the bottom floor. And that helped every one of those little businesses survive. And that was a project that was partially funded by urban renewal that wouldn't have happened otherwise. But the multiplier, the ripple effect from that project on that whole downtown, it's really kind of astounding. It really made a big difference. So, yeah, and I'm sure you probably have other folks that you know that have done, some of these kind of programs that, I mean, we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. There's a lot of communities that are doing this stuff and doing it well. So,
Yeah, I'd like to get his number.
Did we all agree that urban renewal is something that we should focus on at this scale? Somebody want to make a motion? Do we have to make a motion? We just put it on our list.
Eventually, the final recommendation list will have to have a motion. So you don't have to motion on every single one. We can just kind of create them, and then there could be a motion to adopt and send the list.
So we need something more than just saying urban renewal.
Yes, that would be the next step, would be to kind of craft what that actual goal states. So what is it that the committee wants council to do over the next year? Or
Beautification of,
But wouldn't that be determined by the council on what they want us to do on that
Right.
project?
and that's why it's cyclical, is that this committee is going to craft a recommendation. Council will ultimately decide how they want that to look, if they want it to look that way. Because this list goes to them for consideration when they craft the goal list.
But we can guide that with the goal we set.
Yes, yes. Which is why it needs to state a little more about what it is that committee wants to do.
The real question is urban renewal application. Basically, what we want specifically there, you know, we originally had that urban renewal list, things we want to do. Okay, so the sequence then of that application is the part of it, which is also dependent on urban renewal revenue. So capitalized and then created the bonding and so that there's dollar resources to work with. Alex, how many dollars do you anticipate we're going to have in the cash flow for the urban renewal process in this, like in 2022? So 90,000. So with the debt coverage, that would probably give us $500,000 of urban renewal dollars to work with on a leverage basis. Right, but most practical urban renewal programs are leveraged. They're not cash on cash.
So as the chair of the Urban Renewal Agency, I understand what Alex is saying is there's not plans, but if there's, I mean, the reality though is that, you know, being nimble is important. So for instance, if we design a plan or a program that incentivizes a property owner to build in a certain way across the street is the example I like to give because it's the most obvious one. I think the Urban Renewal Agency would be a little more nimble to do that than well, there was also, the consultant also had some other options out there on, yeah, I don't have it right in front of me, but there are options.
There's another thing that's not a huge deal, but it is relevant. It'll take a while to put together a plan and go through the process of talking to any involved parties. So theoretically, we could go through that process in the coming year, and not actually spend any money, because by the time we get through this whole process and actually iron something out, the year will probably be pretty much done. So that we could actually look at it not as we're spending money or a large significant amount of money this year, but we're setting up the process,
Getting
going-
input.
getting input, talking to owners and figuring out what makes sense and how we can get the most benefit for our dollar. And then with the idea that the implementation would be in years to come.
So as a committee, are we going to be interviewing business owners? Are we going to be coming up with themes of how how the our town should look like? I'm still not clear what we can suggest the council that we be part of. Is there another active urban renewal committee that is, because you said, Mayor, that you were a chair. So I don't want to be doing something that another committee is already doing.
It's the Urban Renewal Agency. So the formation of the Urban Renewal District required an agency, and the city council sits as that agency. And then the council appointed me as its chair.
Okay.
So ultimately, anything that uses urban renewal funding would have to be approved by that agency, much like anything that goes forward from this committee would have to be approved by the council. So, but the council would push these things to the agency and do it during urban renewal agency meetings and not council meetings. And I think our next agency meeting is the first meeting.
Explore what other communities have done and make recommendations
Yes.
that would be implemented.
So would our goal ultimately be like supporting the urban renewal agency? Like
Or
our
district.
Committee would support
It already,
along with them?
it already exists. So,
But I think supporting, she means in supporting the efforts of the,
Right, like working
Organizational.
alongside so that we're not coming up with our own urban renewal plan and then you guys are coming up with your urban renewal plan. You know, I mean, we might as well all work together on that.
I think what's going to happen is that the council hoping, or the council is kind of directed, Economic Development Committee would work on those urban renewal things to recommend to the council and the Urban Renewal Agency. I mean, they're one and the same. They just have to have separate meetings because they're separate technical organizations.
For any of our newer members on our committee, we have actually very limited power. Our power is to advise. So when we talk about working on something that somebody else is working on, almost by definition, that's how it's going to happen. Because since we cannot implement anything on our own, unless council's already given us authority to do so, we're going to be making recommendations to either council or to urban development or whoever to do something, but we don't actually have the power to do it. So it's inherent that we're going to be mixing in with other people's business.
Would it be appropriate for the committee to explore incentive programs and recommend actions that are in line with the urban renewal plan? Simply that there's, incentive programs are something that will create actions that urban renewal plan has the goals of the urban renewal plan. So the committee here could simply look at specific programs, explore specific program opportunities, and recommend those actions or recommend those programs to the agency. So, I mean, to get it down to a more specific goal, of what you're actually going to accomplish.
Jeff had sent me those examples from other cities who have done this and who have offered different ways to incentivize business owners. That's something that we could do.
Might be a prioritization of those ways and recommend, hey, here's what the Economic Development Committee thinks will be the best way forward over the next year to work with that urban renewal.
So I think what we're trying to say with this urban renewal is to promote urban renewal resources focused on small business enhancement, isn't that kind of what we're saying?
I like Casey's because it's more specific.
Okay.
We had last year, I think we had a lot of nebulous kind of goals and.
So how would you describe?
I mean, it could be as simple as, hey, this 50-50 match program works great to repaint the face of your building, and we're going to, try to encourage these buildings to do this program. I mean,
So do we want to investigate urban renewal programs for facade restoration?
That's even better.
yeah. So, I mean, yeah, maybe it's facade restoration that falls within the urban renewal district.
Because
And is it a 50% or 25% match? What's the program
What's best practice?
options? And it's really just a recommendation from the committee that something that resembles this, the committee thinks has a renewal plan. It's not creating the plan. The plan's already there. It already has some pretty specific measures on what it wants to accomplish. It has certain funding available that's designed, and it grows over the years. So keeping it simple is your best bet at actually accomplishing a goal over this next year.
Well, just
It's relatively new.
kind of the tag on that, if you guys recall, when we were thinking about, do we want an urban renewal plan or not? We had different communities come in and say, yeah, this is what our urban renewal plan is, and this is why we did it, and this is what it's done for our community. And it gave us a lot of good insight about the viability of such a tool. And so then from that feedback, this group recommended to the council, hey, let's create an urban renewal plan. We created an urban renewal plan. So voice is more powerful sometimes, I think, than you give yourself credit for. But
Who's on the committee, or where do we get access to the information they come up with or the recommendation?
what I was going to suggest, is that I think Jeff hit it out of the park by saying maybe we need to have other communities come in that have these programs, tell us what they've done and what they're successful. And then after we have that information, we can figure out what if anything, we might want to do.
Well, he had documentation.
So
I think that's a great idea to don't need to recreate the wheel because it's already been done, but looking at other people's plans and kind of adopting those, what fits best for Skipper's. But what about the other thing is, do we want to look at what the code currently is? Brian says we have to have awnings.
No, I didn't say we have to have awnings. I'm saying, I was just giving that as an example. Something that sounds fairly simple, but it wouldn't be on those buildings because there'd be structural issues. It would have to be engineered, and it basically have to tear off the front of those buildings in order to do it.
My point is, do we have to look at what the code currently is?
Should definitely look at the downtown overlay because there is specific stuff in there. And my recommendation would be to gear any kind of program, make those buildings more conforming to those goals, that we're going down the right path instead of veering off to the side and actually pushing them away from what the goals already stated to be. Now, those goals also might need to be reviewed. But yeah, I would try to stay consistent with already adopted for the area.
Do it. Grant program. Have to apply for that match program, and then it gives you the opportunity as a committee. It could be a committee that works with the city and maybe this committee to review that plan and verify, like, yes, it complies with city standards.
If I may,
Well, is there already a plan from someone that we haven't seen, obviously, that's
Well,
been done years ago or something? Is there a way of accessing that or?
Sure, there's a lot of plans that people have implemented out on the internet, and that's what I sent some to Chris.
So the consultant
Seen him?
that we've worked with has, done a lot of that work already, and maybe what we need is so that y'all can see it as, I think the goal should be, I like the promote urban renewal by exploring the incentive program and everything, but getting other people's inputs would be really good for it, I think, and that's, I think, what I would see as that goal being a good goal.
Adding them in as a guest.
Yeah, inviting them in and presenting the information that's been presented to the council so that y'all can see it. And then also that way you can support it and explore it. Maybe you have other ideas for incentive programs or tweaks or whatnot that then can be relayed to the council or the urban renewal agency, which again is one and the same. It's the same people. So just separate meetings.
Idea. So with the idea of goals, definitely number 3 as our goal, 50-year plan, which city would like us to be a part of. And
Excuse me,
Main
Christine.
Street really falls under the promote urban renewal, I think.
Yes, it does.
Would
Well, it's a
number
separate
2 and
program,
number
but it
3
has
be
the same goal.
together? Excuse me, I'm sorry. Would number 2 and number 3 be together? Is it, we be able to do the same for Main Street?
Main Street and urban renewal are separate. Even in communities where they have both, the Main Street actually will generally be a separate 501c3. They will work together, but they are always essentially separate. So they are 2 different things. If you want to pursue Main Street, that's a whole separate program.
So I think more it's just the goal of the promote urban
exploring part.
renewal. So it'd be promote urban renewal by exploring incentive programs.
Right.
But urban renewal could mean Main Street and the URA. So I think that promote urban renewal in parentheses, Main Street program and the urban renewal agency in parentheses by doing this stuff. 'Cause
Yeah,
both have those programs.
Right.
I think it's one goal is what I think.
That's yeah, you can make it one goal.
Correct.
I'm just clarifying that Main Street program, it's its own very distinct program.
I
Right.
have a question of staff. Is my understanding of the Main Street program is it requires a fair bit of time.
It does.
And so I would not want to impose on staff with that at this point for this year. I think that if we go with the urban renewal this year and we get some of the stuff sorted out on the front side, then it sounds more like the Main Street is once we figure out some of the what we want, how and talk to people and see what they want, then we can talk more about Main Street. But it seems like tie up staff time with that might not be beneficial to the city, especially with everything that's going on.
I mean, well, to be honest, we simply don't have the staff time for that. We just don't. The Main Street program, if that's something you all wanted to pursue, that would actually be something where eventually you'd want to set up a 501c3, and that would actually be something you all would more primarily run. It would be a separate entity from the city. It's true. No, there's a lot of overlap between urban renewal and Main Street, but when any conference I've been to, they've talked about communities where they have both and they overlap, and basically that they just help they help each other out, that there's really great things they can do together, but they're always separate. The city doing the urban renewal agency and the Main Street program being separate and a 501c3. Yes. Yes, community led. No, that's what they claim.
Any other ideas?
Off topic for what we just talked about, but we could probably whittle 6 out of the goals and throw that into like the Parks and Rec. I think isn't our Parks and Rec dealing with that?
Correct. Yep.
You can
Take off number 6. We're just getting
whittle in.
top 3.
Yep, exactly.
So, and I'm going to make another recommendation. I learned this from Mike, going through goal setting, he's really good at it. So I when I look at Chamber of Commerce, marketing, business attractors, I think that the goal is marketing, promoting, and recruiting for the city of Scappoose. Or in some format of that. And that includes whatever the conversation about a chamber is or acting,
That was a request from chamber.
okay. It would, including the Chamber of Commerce, but, it'll be including city promo videos that the city was looking at doing, or the attracting, explore supporting a hotel motel in Scappoose. And if Lynn would ever get off his stuff and get it done.
Thanks. I singularly get out
What
of
was that?
six.
Support them and their business development program.
Yeah, I'd say supporting business, market promote and supporting business development in Scappoose.
Yeah.
So business development in Scappoose would be that business attractor. Promoting would be the promo videos, the marketing would be working with the chamber or whatever other.
So Scott, would that take care of 4, 5, and 6? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's,
that sounds like a good idea.
I'm pulling my best Mike Sykes and combining goals into one, so it's not a huge list, but it's down to 3.
Top three.
I mean, I could stop dyeing my hair so it'll be as gray as his too, but.
I do sit.
Oh, yeah, I've got vanity. I put vanity in my hair.
Excuse me, I'd like to add a little bit to number 3, maybe collaborate with other organizations that do support businesses or promote events, or I'd like to put in there collaborate.
How would that?
For example, if let's just say the community, what is it, the Scappoose Community Club, they're doing an event, we as an organization should also, if they need support, collaborate. I know we've done that in the past. Some of these members in this committee have participated in other groups to have an event, to plan an event. So that's part of collaboration. And also, I do recommend that be a little bit more specific, that as Economic Development Committee, we should all kind of promise or put an effort to participate in these Scappoose events and attend, and encourage our families and friends to also attend.
So would this be more of a seeking out partnership opportunities to accomplish number 3? Broad and on it.
Well, when we first started, there was a committee. I was on it, George was on it, and we actively solicited, like George called the McMiniman brothers, like we went after business to try to come to Scappoose.
George got an email back from the burger joint that's in Salem, Kaiser. In-N-Out Burger, yes.
Now they're one in Tannis.
Yeah. Well, no, they're probably got a distribution place further north so that they can distribute their food. So, and then I wouldn't remove work with CET, Columbia County, to help promote. I would still keep that, even though it's not an active goal, but it's going to be a goal of the city.
I think it's a partnership.
Yeah, but it's going to continue to be a goal of the city as the OMIC, PCC, the R&D development, and the main.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that one should stay. So I think the 3 active goals, and then that one's much more passive. I mean, pretty much we have that one here so we can look at our county commissioner that shows up and say, get off your duff and get something done. That's my new word.
I think you need to add,
And
Port of-
Ports, don't act like you're exempt,
County
Port of
to that.
Columbia County. Get off your duff and get something done.
The number 4, don't you think we need to add, and the Port of Columbia County, work with Columbia County, Port of
Yes.
Columbia County to promote development of.
Can I go back to 3 for a minute? One of the issues that we've got in Scappoose is that we have a zoning conflict. We have some lands zoned EC, which is expanded commercial. And inside that EC is an overlay of A1, which means that they build apartment houses in commercial land. Once you take away the commercial land, there's none left. So if you start looking around at our inventory, we are low on commercial land. We obviously, the Biddy piece is the largest piece in town, zoned EC. I would like to see council change the code and take A1 out of the EC zoning and specifically designate multiple areas of A1 for apartments. For instance, the properties that being built over next to Les Schwab on the Second Street. That's an EC zone parcel. That would have been a good commercial piece of real estate. But now it's got 40 units of apartment on it or whatever that.
80.
Huh?
80.
80?
80 neighbors you're getting.
80 neighbors?
Yeah.
I understand the new name of it. It's called Shake, Rattle, and Roll. It's next to the track.
Well, having been in the 2020 building and off of 84 next to a railroad track, you can't hear, feel, or anything inside that.
That wood frame structure you'll be.
Oh, yeah. Well, that one's, yeah, I mean,
Just to clarify, the A1 zone is a separate zone. It's not an overlay to the EC. It's just that apartments are a permitted use in the EC zone.
right.
So as part of the 50-year plan, we will be looking at zoning throughout the city. There are some areas that would make sense to rezone to A1. But until we complete our housing needs analysis update, which has just kicked off, and complete the new economic opportunities analysis to look at our employment land needs, we won't kind of know yet where we're at with our land supply. But again, that is absolutely something we're going to be looking at, and rezoning of lands will be a consideration.
Good.
Yep.
Very necessary. Excellent.
Good. And we're only here for gold.
Just one other potential goal. Last year city was really involved with their centennial, and that was a big economic development event. And I'm just wondering, is that a goal we should continue to have? I don't know what the city's plans are for that.
so the city council on Monday night approved contracting with Treadway. It's Treadway, right? To do a event. It's going to be an adventure fest on September 10th. It's going to incorporate outdoor activities that people, now it might be at the end of the year, they can get deals on the stuff as it's going out of season, but still it's going to be, in my mind, it's going to be a community festival combined with the outdoorsman show without as much of the hunting.
Wouldn't that cover number 3?
Yeah. Yeah, it's in lieu of any other festival. We decided to go in a direction that promotes the community and things to do out here. Tie in the tourism and the opportunities.
Yeah, they just.
Yeah, it'll be an approved contract, so. Yeah, yeah.
We don't want to be event planners. We don't have Susie.
Yeah.
By the power invested in me, no, wait, I don't think I can proclaim that she has to do it, do I?
Anything else? I mean, we might.
Could I add one small vocabulary note? Can you hear me okay? Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So just so everybody knows it, I know it gets really confusing. So OMIC refers to the whole OMIC collaborative. So that means OMIC R&D and PCC OMIC Training Center. So if you say OMIC, then it means all of us, or it's OMIC R&D and the PCC OMIC Training Center. And then if you want to get really fancy, Columbia County Center is PCC's Columbia County Center. And that refers to, all that could be on the property that PCC has. But so far, only PCC OMIC Training Center is on that property. So,
We're going to need you to change the name to the Scapoo Center.
I know. That would probably make more sense to people. But that is not in my powers, but I'll make sure everyone knows. Thank you so much.
What do we think? We all in agreement? Want to make a motion? These are our goals that we present.
Second.
We're gonna keep Main Street
Right.
program.
So,
Point of clarification,
I'm
There's a
sorry,
question
are
on
you
the
guys
floor.
voting? It's hard to hear.
Jeff had a question about
Are
number
we
2.
keeping Main Street in goal number 2?
I thought Main Street was
yeah,
part of number 2, yeah.
yeah, but not the Main Street program. That's a.
Okay, well, see, when I see that, I think of technically the Main Street.
Yeah, no, Main Street.
That is
yeah.
what we're trying to, if we go through this process and that's something that we want to adopt, so that's why it's included as a number 2,
Okay.
as the actual.
You might want to also downtown. Or you're gonna be changing that anyhow, part of the
Yeah.
plan. We're gonna be doing that as part of the 50-year code up to 8, it doesn't matter. Starting.
Okay, so Michael's.
What about the casino?
Why not?
No casino and no NASCAR track.
What on a NASCAR track / casino?
Prison. I mean, we don't forget the
So we
prison.
don't need to do the.
All the seats at the NASCAR track will have a slot machine in front of them.
Okay, so far we have a first and a second. We need a vote that these are good. Unless there are other changes, then we have to start over.
Question.
Council.
Okay, you guys, your mics went off, so if you guys are voting, I say aye.
Alright, oh, they just raised.
Yeah, time for updates.
We want to do updates? Or do you guys want to escape early? More sandwiches.
I have a question. Those buildings over there that need help, are they designated as historic?
No.
No.
Okay,
No plaque.
so then I would think it'd be easier to create some regulations in terms of frontages, facades, and the whole works.
I think so, and then we'll certainly vet that out over the next 12 months. Casey, do you want to give us an update?
Oh, sure. Thing happening right now, we have committed and secured $7.5 million for courthouse John Gum renovations to they restructure facilities, consolidate state court space and county the counter services gathering spaces. Posing a plan to the state this coming Monday, asking for 2 to 5 million to go on top of that 7.5 million. Air 3 floors of the annex, floors of the old. Big thing happening. Got a letter of intent last week from PGE to an agreed upon price out. That will set us up. Master plan. We'll work. VO program. We have 3 studio meetings with the stakeholders. River projects are kind of the theme. Chapman Landings came up. You know, it's not obviously not ready right now, but Chapman Landing, Sand Island, Prescott Beach are kind of the focus areas to develop goals. Travel Portland to support future grants.
That include the problems with the septic systems there? Prescott Beach?
Yes, it would be creating a new water, wastewater system for the city of Prescott. That would be able to be tapped into for park. So the wastewater system is proposed on a few acres of Prescott. And we'll be working with Prescott. And there's been research done. Some funders in the city, they needed a location for the wastewater system. This is one of the ways. Wastewater system will be part of and be available in the city plus showers.
Are you gonna have an RV facility there?
That's the goal. That's in our plan. RV, boat dock, boat launch, cabin.
Can you build our sewer plant too? Save some money here.
That's all good stuff. We have a line, I think, this committee about our 9 ARPA projects. Those are actually 2 facilities upgrades and broadband design broadband connectivity in Columbia County, Tillamook. Lots of Washington County is all part of a group led by Colpack. Colpack discussions have happened in Colpack. Great connectivity in this upper part of Oregon. County's committed $2 million to some backbone infrastructure that we haven't finalized the plan, but then also that redesign effort. Doing a water needs study, statewide water needs study. Like a big problem we live, but and water supply throughout the state. And that need. Hospital study that hasn't gotten off yet, an ambulance service study we just signed. Study. Else. Velvet Center will be housed, and we have the space allocated for area to premier space across real estate. That effort, we're pushing the economic team back in the center office, same area with accessible meeting room space, conference room space, gathering space in the auditorium, and the museum on the same really nice. That's where all the we have a schedule for that. It's year to year and a half. Big things happen right now. There's just a ton of really good capital projects happening right now that we're going after a little bit. The big.
Like, yeah, there's something big, but you're not going to tell. Great.
5 hours.
I even have tours.
No, I mean, UGB was pretty long meetings.
Put on your pants, boy.
Really quickly, just want to remind everybody to wear their masks when they're done eating. We still have guidelines to follow.
And
We really don't have any new big projects at the library. It's business as usual and trying to keep open Omicron.
You guys gonna try to have an outdoor theater this summer, or you haven't decided yet?
You mean the movie nights?
Yeah.
Yeah, we normally do that anyway. Yeah, August.
Amanda's still here. Michael, I mean, you're gonna miss our update. You want to do yours really quick? Please? Michael for coming. Amanda.
Hi.
Whoa.
We also don't have a ton of updates, but we are adapting with changing conditions this quarter. So we've managed to keep things going, which is a great thing. It is a bit of a struggle with the exposures and changing plans for our in-person classes, but everything is still continuing on, and we're starting to think about spring term.
Oh my gosh, Lori's here.
All right, I'll just do a quick update. So I did mention we did just kick off our housing needs analysis update. We also kicked off our 50-year plan. So we had our consultant kickoff meetings very recently. We'll be looking to form the technical advisory committees for those groups here very shortly. That's something the mayor will create, and so we'll go through that process and bring more information to you at the next meeting. I believe the first technical advisory committee meeting is going to be mid-March ish. The first component of the 50-year plan will be a community visioning process, and that will be presented during the annual town meeting as well. We're still getting clear on the date, but it looks like that will be sometime in early March. We expect the 50-year plan will cover not that date in March,
Okay.
the date before that in March. Yeah. We're looking at March 5th, but it's not final yet. Let's see, just a heads up, the 50-year plan will likely take about 3 years to complete. There's quite a bit of components to it, but it'll be a good process, I'm sure. We did receive our first food cart pod permit application. Very exciting. It's for 11 carts to permanently connect, permanent utilities and everything for each cart. And then including a tap house on the site as well. So the applicant's working to just address some incompleteness items. And then once we get that back, hopefully we can deem the application complete and get them to Planning Commission. Another one we're looking at right now is the dealer's market, which is the used car lot in town. They're going to do a big revamp to their site, remove the existing trailers, which house their sales office now, and replace that with a new sales office and shop. So we just got the second submittal recently, so I'll be reviewing that next week. The Planning Commission just approved an 8-lot subdivision north of Kale Street and just west of North Road. So that will be moving forward. And staff is reviewing the final plat for phase 1 and 2 of the Columbia Commerce Center, which is the area east of the airport. And so that's essentially like a light industrial subdivision. It's not housing or anything. And so we're just reviewing the final plat for conformance with the conditions of approval. It is a 4-phase subdivision. This would just be recording the plat for the first 2 phases. I believe that's around a total of 7 or 8 lots for the first 2 phases. That's what the recording of that subdivision plat is what creates the legal lots that can be sold individually. So once that's accomplished, that's a big deal because then we have, quite, some lots that are shovel ready and fully served off of the new road. So those are the main things I have. Happy to answer any questions anyone has. The food cart development would be located, where Old Portland Road meets Highway 30. We have sort of that totem pole there. Just west of there, there's a big row of arborvitae and a brick house on that parcel. So all that would get removed, and then they would build it there. I don't know how quickly, they'll get their construction documents after we approve it through Planning Commission, but I would say, within a year, maybe they're able to open. We would hope. Yeah. The city has lots going on. That's just from my development perspective. So I don't know if anyone else wants to share. You're good? Okay. Okay.
Anyone? None. Oh, and so our meeting February, remember, it's not the 3rd Thursday, it's February 24th. That moved. So February 24th, March 17th, April 21st. You need anything else? Good? Okay. Happy month. Thanks, Scott, for coming, everyone. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
About yourself and get things done.
Yeah, right.
Boys, you're not going to be together next.
Lori. I've been working with Dave Maloney's got a client who wants a food carts over in Terrebonne. And in Terrebonne, over in Eastern Oregon, Central Oregon. But it's the food cart question. So, and the issue came up with the amount of parking required and unbelievable. The client happened to he'd be picking up his daughter the other night when I'm on the phone with him. He's down in Tumalo next to this food cart system. They got 5 food carts. There's 61 and 38 or 39 of them at 4 in the afternoon were full. I just want to give you a warning that parking is such a premium with these things. Yeah, you're
it off of the tap into the
Yeah, right.
And then plus each park has to provide one.
Yeah, yeah, no, I can, your coach's gonna have 25 parking spots. Yeah, 25, 27, right, yeah, but, and it ought to have 80, and the question is, what do you do
Well,
about
then
it?
you don't know. I made it.
Then you, that's right, I know, but,
I know.
yeah, it really